Are you a man and you've been struggling with exhaustion and you're absolutely knackered and you've got all these responsibilities? Well, today I'm going to talk about working through this and some tips I found for practically being able to work through when I've been exhausted and how to reduce it. And if you stay until the very end of this podcast episode, I have an extra point for you then as well. Now, if you're someone who regularly is really having a lot of stress, maybe there's a lot of clarity needed, maybe there's a lot of brain fog, and it's impacting on areas in your life like your relationships, your health, your career, your business, right? Well, it certainly has for me. Now, one of the key tools that I've learned is breath work. And what breath works allow me to do is really clear out the stuff that in my body that was just creating some of those blocks. So if you're someone who really wants to take your growth to the next level, then check out the show notes below and you can book a call in with me personally where we can talk about whether breath work is the next step for you. So, exhaustion. I hear a lot the term burnout thrown out there. Like people say, I've been coming back from burnout. Now, or like they've experienced burnout. Now, I'm not entirely sure on the concept of burnout. I've seen people work hours and hours and hours and still have the energy to keep going. I've seen people get absolutely drained and knackered and just really down. And I know for me, in my own experience, I've sometimes been previously working in sales, been working and for a company in the US. I've been working on some events, not all the time, but to like 3 or 4 in the morning. And we were really, really busy. We were helping people, serving people, making sales. And my energy was sky high because I just loved what I was doing. Yeah, I got about 5 hours sleep. And I've also known when times are tough and I've had like 9 hours sleep and been exhausted, right? And just mentally I wasn't focusing. So this is really about if you're on a phase of exhaustion. We're not talking about burnout. We're talking about if you're just like exhausted, you're tired, because I do find mentally it really impacts on me, emotionally, how I'm feeling. And what I also have learned is when I used to really work out, I could exhaust myself in the gym. And I could overdo it on my training. And then I remember coming to football on a Saturday and I'd be like, not being able to perform as much because I knackered myself out in the gym, right? Now, I believe mentally we can do that as well. We can knock ourselves out and we need that break. We need that gap between training and behind building ourselves up. So I'm going to go into some tips on that. So look at somewhere where you've got results maybe in an area and then think about when you haven't, perhaps when you've been exhausted and how painful that can be for you. Well, I want to give you some tips now that I feel as a guy it's really helped me work through exhaustion. The first thing is measuring energy every single day, daily. Now, what I do for that is I write in my journal every single day, like how am I feeling, energy and mood, right? And then I write down what I did in a day. Because that really creates self-awareness for me by just even measuring my energy. Because sometimes I think it's something that I personally don't know. Most people do. But I do know people who are really high performers. They're very on top of their habits. They're very aware. And for me, measuring my energy is a key one. So like understanding, okay, I felt really good today and I did this, this and this. I didn't feel so good. I did this, this and this. Now, of course, you could still be doing all your good habits and then something really harsh comes in, really challenging comes in, right? And then that's going to knock you back. But generally, when are you having more energy than not? I find just even writing that down every single day, just writing down what is my energy out of 10 really, really helps. The second thing is to-do lists have been promoted many times. I remember going to a workplace and it was like, someone was saying I got a to-do list, really helps me. And what I learned is that actually didn't really help me. doing to-do lists. Now and then I might have a load of things in my head and I just want to get it out on paper. That is really helpful. Generally though, what I do is I like to plan my week out, and then what I'm aiming to achieve 1 to 3 things each day. So they may change from day to day. You might set them out like off the course of a week, and then actually the day before you're like, actually, no, I need to reprioritize this. This is actually really important. I'm feeling into this. What I found is when you got like 1 to 3 things a day that are the real important needle movers, you don't do the exhausting long things. And anything else, I'm just like, okay, I didn't do it. And that's totally cool. I'm recording this podcast. Now, for me, a podcast is very, very important. Yeah, there's actually like 3 or 4 more days this week for me to have the opportunity to record this podcast. It's going to get done by the end of the week. That's a non-negotiable for me. But it's actually not a non-negotiable for me to record this today. The 1 to 3 things that I needed to do today, I did, and earlier on, right, between my career and my business and my social life as well. One of them was to go running club and then go to the social afterwards. I did that, right? I went running and then I went and hung out for not very long, but for about an hour with everyone who went, right? That was like 1 to 3 things, right? So rather than putting too many things that lead to exhaustion, just think of the 1 to 3 things that's going to move you forward to where you want to go. Right. And then the third thing is prime time, understanding when is your best operating time. For me, this is just my personal view. We've all got different operating times. You'll hear all these different people talk about, like, I've heard like 5 a.m. club. You've got to be at the 5 a.m. club. Got to be up at 5 a.m. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. I'm like a zombie then, and I actually work quite well into the night. Now, that's not my prime time. I'd say my prime time is late morning personally for me, and actually one of my worst times is like the afternoon. Now I can do things like podcasts and speak to people, interact, do meetings are very good for me between like in the afternoon. Just if you want me to focus, I never put any focus tasks between 2 and 5 p.m. because that's my worst time for focusing. But I know usually around somewhere between 9 or 12, between 9 and 12 is really good for me to focus and really get down. And that's when I have the most amount of energy. So those are my 3 tips on preventing exhaustion. Now, I would also say scheduling in that time to really give yourself the nourishing time is a very, very key one. If I was going to add another one. Now, I do have an extra one for you as well. So there you go. There's a bonus one for the free to make it 4, and then I've got a bonus one. Just want to mention again though, that if you're someone who's really struggling with releasing stress, exhaustion, trying to get more energy in your body, what we've been talking about today, then for me, breathwork has been one of the most beneficial things that I've come across. So if you're someone who really is getting lots of blocks and just wants to move forward, then click on the link in the show notes below and you can book in a call with me to talk about how we can support you with breathwork. So the final point I want to share with you kind of ties on from that little bonus one I gave you is this one. It's rewarding yourself every day, because the more you celebrate, the better you're going to feel, the more likely you want to do stuff. Instead of rewarding yourself for like hitting a big milestone, reward yourself for doing the things you said you're going to do each day. Even if it's just one thing, even if you hit 1 out of 3 things, reward yourself, because again, that creates feel-good chemicals that makes you more likely to want to do it. So schedule a reward in every day and schedule a big reward in for the end of the week for what you've done, okay? Because that's going to reinforce you to do more of it. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here, and remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.